Hi, this is Derek with another movie review for HorrorNerds.com. Today, we are going to be talking about the horror movie Sinister, which came out in October of 2012, so it is a fairly new film. I went and saw it at the movie theater when it came out. Unfortunately, there were many teenagers in there who wouldn't stop talking. I swear, sometimes going to the movies is almost more horrific than watching an actual horror film. But nevertheless, I survived. I was able to enjoy the film somewhat. It wasn't that bad of a film, although filled with cliche after cliche after cliche of horror movies. I'm not jaded, though. I like movies. I can get into them. That's really what counts. This movie definitely had a lot of good imagery, a lot of visual tricks to it that I felt worked very well. Couple little nods to movies like The Descent and some other found footage films as well, such as like VHS, Blair Witch Project, things like that. It stars Ethan Hawke as the main character, Ellison Oswald, a true crime or a writer who basically hasn't had a hit in a while, wants to get a movie or a book written that is going to make him, once again, I suppose, successful. It was directed and written by Scott Derrickson. Not bad for, a relatively unknown director, per se. What happens when Ellison moves his wife, his two kids, into a home, he didn't realize, or maybe they didn't realize, I should say, that in this home, an entire family was murdered except for the youngest daughter. They were hung on a tree in the backyard, so to speak. What starts out right there, you might think, okay, this isn't too bad. Ethan Hawke's character, Ellison, finds some snuff 8mm type footage in the attic, which turns out to be, a whole host of murder footage. And then it just takes sort of an interesting turn into, again, the supernatural. All the movies I've reviewed for Horror Nerds, I've been seeing over and over and over again the same ideas, but I like them. I love horror movies, love them. And, I wouldn't say this is the scariest movie I've seen. There's definitely a lot of jumps, a lot of moments where loud noise makes you go, whoa, in a theater, that's certainly going to help because of the big speakers you're going to be subjected to, blasting out these noises. But in a home, it's not going to work, I think, as much for a viewer. Nevertheless, Ethan Hawke's performance is solid. I think given what he was allowed to have with the script, he does a tremendous job with, his character's development within the limitations of the writing. And the only problem this movie really suffers from is it's just we've seen it before. We've seen a lot of this, and also it suffers from the fact that the trailer for this movie I remember seeing shows quite a bit of the scares, the parts of the movie that really I think could have made you jump if the idiots that made the trailer wouldn't have put those in the trailer. I never understood that. It's like watching Castaway's trailer over and over again, only this time it's a horror movie. I mean, you're practically showing the end of the movie in the trailer, or at least the best parts. Why even have the trailer? Let's just watch the trailer and say, okay, we've seen the movie, which is exactly how I felt after watching this film. But aside from that, the real standout for me with this film that works completely is the found footage. It's creepy, it's scary. There's a couple parts in there that are like, ugh. What if I would have found this in my attic? I think I would have moved immediately. I wouldn't have cared about my writing or nothing like that. It just wouldn't have mattered. The fact they throw in a pagan deity who likes to, eat children or have children sacrificed to him, I think his name is Bagul or something. I could almost see the Halloween costume for this next year, or, if they had built enough mythology or perhaps left this open, I think, for a much larger, maybe, tradition of films like, the Scream movies, for example. But it falls flat. I almost don't even think they needed that. It would have worked just as well as a serial killer film instead of throwing in the supernatural stuff. And if they had done that, this could have worked, but it didn't. Nevertheless, I did enjoy it, again, because, as much as I'm on the fence about my reviews, a lot of it's just because I don't want to be too overly critical, because given the story, I'm always intrigued by how actors take things like this and make it their own films. And Ethan Hawke, he's one of the greats. He does that with every one of his films. It becomes an Ethan Hawke movie. This is no exception. So, if you like Ethan Hawke, go watch this movie. It's another one to add on his resume of movies. I mean, you saw him in Training Day. Now he did something completely, 180 degrees opposite, so to speak. But overall, if you're coming into this movie expecting to see something original, it isn't there. It doesn't exist in this film. At the same time, if you're easily scared, if you respond well to big jumps in movies, this one will get you, and it'll get you good. So, this has been another review for HorrorNerds.com. My name's Derek. We'll be seeing you.